Cheers everyone, and welcome to a new video on the SpellForce community channel. For those of you that remember the last lore video, we covered the Guardians, deities of Io who still uphold their father's task of guarding over it. Today, we'll mention their counterpart group, the Renegades. The Renegades are gods that used to be Guardians at first, but through time grew tired and unhappy with the role bestowed upon them, so they decided to leave and do their own thing, which is, in case I need to mention, very much against the rules of Ionia. Before we start, let me just mention, because I know some will be wondering, that I'm only considering the events up until SpellForce 2 Dragonstorm as canon. I am aware that there are a lot of god-related events in Demons of the Past, but I explained why I don't use that information in a video already. Click the top right corner of this video to check it out. Now back to this. Unlike the 6 Guardians, there's only 2 Renegades. At least for now, we don't know whether any more Guardians will follow suit, but it's not impossible. Those two are Zarach, formerly known as Ulm, the Almoner or the Provider if you will, and Nor, the Silent One. So let's talk about those. First Zarach, the Rising One. You know, for some reason all of these names sound much cleaner in German. I don't know. You people that haven't played in English, do other languages also have names that sound, you know? Anyway, let's continue. Since Zarach was first known as Ulm, let's cover that part of his story first. As always, this is what Ionia said to him. You shall be the keeper of diversity and change, for nothing shall last forever, and change will determine the face of this world. May your power give the flowers their color, and the creatures their variety. Was originally known as Io's god of growth, diversity, and creatures. Remember those, they will be important. He was not only known as the Provider, but also as the World Tree and the Variegated. Those seem like pretty important tasks, and they were. Was pretty much represented in everything on Io, but he was still unhappy with his role because even though he was everywhere, no one realized it or appreciated it. And this angered him, and he decided to cast away his old name, leave the Guardians, and go out to create a race that would worship him and conquer everyone who didn't care about him earlier. We don't know when exactly he left, but if I had to guess, I would say between the years 1000 and 800 BC. I'm assuming this because after he left, he created the Orcs, Trolls and Dark Elves, the last one for his brother Norm, who followed him, by kidnapping various creatures from Io into the Black Jungle and changing them. This is where his former traits are important. God of creatures, to be precise. We know that the Guardians aren't powerful enough to create new life, nor can they take existing life and shape it to their will on a large scale. Nor, Zarach's renegade brother, tried this and failed. The reason why Zarach was able to do it is because those were his specialties from when he was Ulm. Keep in mind, not even he was able to create life from nothing like Ionia. He tried and failed until eventually deciding that the only way to do this is to just take existing life and change it to how he sees fit. To get back to the year placements 1000 to 800 BC, we know that the Dark Races didn't exist before the War of the Six Races, which started at 750 BC, so it must have been before 800 BC at least. Now, how long before depends on how much time it took to create these races. I feel 200 years is a generous enough window, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Once he had created those races, he was officially exiled from the Circle of Guardians, since shaping life to his own will was against what Ionia told him to do. Once he had created the Fiel Dark, his most prized creation, he was found by the other Guardians and exiled from Io for his deeds, together with Nor who supported him through it. One of the reasons it even came to the War of the Six Races was because the Dark Races wanted to free them. We don't know exactly where they're being held up, but it's certainly no place on Io. After became Zarach, a lot about him changed as well. He now saw himself as the Innovator, the Rising One, and the Conqueror, completely redefining his identity. Some of his new names were the Claw, Drinker of the World Blood, the Dark Storm, and the Iron Root. His symbols became the Red Claw, a Black Root, blood, iron, and a tree without leaves. As one can imagine, he's honored as the main god of orcs and to some extent trolls, although trolls often worship smaller, made-up deities. He also has some worshippers among the Dark Elves, even though most of them worship his brother Nor. Speaking of which, let's talk about him next. At the beginning of Io, Ionia said, "Nor, my son, you shall receive the lunar globe as your empire. Guard over the night and sleep once Tiara has moved on. Your light will be cold, yet still a welcome sign to the creatures of the night." Nor, the Silent One, was formerly Io's god of the night, peace, sleep, oblivion, and coldness. However, once he followed Zarach and became a renegade, he considers himself a god of knowledge, clarity, power, truth, and the Master of the Night. Much less is known about Noor than Zarach, but one important thing we learn about him from the official SpellForce book by Craig Unshalach is that Noor was the one who taught the races about the Guardians and religion, while he was still a Guardian himself, of course. Much like Zarach, he also wasn't happy with the role Ionia gave him. People did notice Noor, but only in a cold and cruel way. As he was the god of night, he was feared by most, which just fueled his desire to finally find a race that would worship him for what he really is. This wish was finally granted to him when Zarach created the Dark Elves for him as a gift. Formerly, Noor was known as Master Silver Crescent, the Silver One, and the Cold Eye, but his current worshippers see him as the Master of the Night, the Soul Clairvoyant, and the Silver Weaver. His symbols are a saber warrior donned in black, the moon, the crescent, cold salt water, a silver net, a silver spider, and, not surprising, silver itself. He is primarily worshipped by all the Dark Elves, but orcs do acknowledge him as Zarach's brother. The trolls, well, they still prefer their made-up gods and statues. And that will be everything important about the Renegades. Which one's your favorite, Noor or Zarach, or do you prefer the Guardians altogether? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, liking and sharing is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all my uploads. If you'd like to discuss SpellForce lore with me or other fans, I'll link the official SpellForce Discord down in the description. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.